creatures, noon lizards, people of the sun. Be careful out there. Sunburn cutoff is 7:22 p.m. and toxic level drop-off is 8:05.
What's going on, guy? How are you?
Hey, wait a second. I'm trying to find my way here. Hey, how you doing, man? Am I early? I'm like, just this, like you jump from one Zoom link to the next. You never know if you're late or early.
I think we're waiting for James to come in 5 minutes, so.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Like,
no worries.
I just realized it was supposed to be 9:40, but
hey,
the previous one we were 10 minutes late.
I can't blame you. Exactly. It's better early than late, especially with all that's going on. Some of these like Zooms and these press things, just one after another, and you get.
Yeah, how does it feel for you guys? It must be some kind of a bizarre existence to be.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Now with the Zoom thing, I think it's easier to do it than if it was in person or whatnot. You know, just getting from one location to another. But also, I'm feeling like the interviews are now like a lot next to each other, kind of, you know, one after the other too, in a lot of ways.
No, you know what else I notice is when you have multiple participants, it's like usually when you're in a room, if you talk to two people,
yeah,
so then the guy who's not speaking or whatever can kind of, you know, sit back and relax a little bit. But here it's like there's
the tension's on you, even if you're not.
When you're listening, you're supposed to. It's such a funny reality, but I guess it connects with this entire little movie we made. So
exactly. Well, yeah, in a lot of ways too. Where are you currently?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh, you're in Los Angeles? I'm in Chicago.
Oh wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. How are things out there? I know that smoke is really bad.
It's you know, it's with the risk of sounding. I mean, a part of me is it's just kind of amazed, you know, with the timing of our release. Like I think last weekend was the one of the hottest weekends in recorded history in California.
Mm-hmm.
Now the air is toxic. You have to literally look at your phone and see what the kind of the air index is in order to get out.
Yeah.
And I have kids of my own.
Hi, Jim.
They're studying on Zoom right now. So I mean, it feels a little bit like, you know, it's 2020 and not 2048.
Right. It's like a dystopian world of our own, man.
So a part of me is proud for having anticipated some of this, and a part of me is dreading this reality because I thought it was comical when I was writing.
Right. Unbelievable. I mean, you can't make that up, you know. No way. Reality.
No, I have friends who literally, like, you know, saw the trailer and stuff. And last weekend, everybody was sending me texts. It's unbelievable. Like, look at the temperature and this and that. And I'm saying, what?
And the sun. If you look at the sun in some of these places like Oregon stuff, it looks like a different planet.
Exactly.
We're like
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys get it in on the East Coast, but like here, I took some photographs on Friday, and it was eerily similar to the kind of color correction version of the sunlight that we try to do in this kind of driving sequence. It's just exactly the same thing, you know, this smog, and I don't know.
Yeah, it just covers everything around you. You can't, like, it even takes the sun out, you know, where it's just like a little.
But you literally can't go out, you know.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. It's like you know, it's not enough that we're going through this pandemic or whatever. Now you can't even tell your kids to go out to the backyard because
scary.
The air is bad, you know. So
it's scary.
I don't know.
For sure. Yeah, even in Chicago, the air quality got worse. It's coming all the way out here, some of it too.
You're serious? Like it all the way to the East Coast? Wow.
Yep. Yeah, we heard on the news that like the air quality definitely jumped up, you know, in like the negative range.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, that's far. Crazy. It's 2,000 miles away, you know.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
And how's there was a lot of unrest in Chicago lately, no? Or am I?
Yeah, it's crazy here. I mean, things have slowed down and mellowed down, but yeah, we were on the news for sure.
Yeah, no, it does feel. This year feels like we're living through some sort of a.
Yeah, a movie. You couldn't write this script, guy. You just couldn't write this script for this year. It's unbelievable. There's James.
Hi, Jim. Nice to meet you.
You too. How are you today?
I'm great, thanks.
Having some breakfast?
No, I'm in Dublin. I'm
This is
it's like afternoon, evening.
yeah.
I'm not
Dinner
sure what
time
I'm having. I'm
almost.
having a snack, Jim. You've caught me out. I'm having a snack, damn it.
Perfect. Take your time. Me and Guy are talking about like how the movie is almost like a projection of reality that's going on around us here in the States. It's unbelievable.
It's so weird what he's done. It's, writing. How many years ago you wrote the script, Guy?
I think the first draft was 2016 or something like that.
Wow.
And when I read it, it felt like kind of, yeah, just sort of off in the distance, like interesting ideas,
Exactly.
man. Maybe that stuff could happen. And now, like, some of it is just happened.
Mm-hmm. Guy, what kind of? I'm almost curious now. I mean, let's delve into it. What kind of prompted you with the script and all? Like, what sort of thing is anything that kind of tipped you off, or you had any kind of ideas? Was there any inspiration for it in a sense to kind of write futuristic world?
I was talking about it before. It, funnily enough, it kind of was born out of our reality. I guess not very old at that, but I'm married myself very happily. I have 3 kids of my own. We have a very kind of extensive circle of other married couples. Your kids go to school, other parents and all that kind of stuff. And there was a period there in 2016 for a couple of years there actually, where I guess at a certain age, a lot of relationships mature and kind of run into problems in today's world. I think even statistically more than in the past. And you start seeing all those kind of relationships going up in flames, while also, experiencing the life of the family life on your own. And I don't know, one theme that kept coming back in all of this was this idea of isolation of people, even within the family kind of setting, feeling, when you talk to friends who are going through difficulties and stuff, you get a sense that they're feeling like their existence as an individual is taken away from them or something like that. And I saw a certain connection between that and this technological trend that we're going through, which I think is very bizarre, because all of these kind of technological advents were supposed to be created to help us better communicate with one another and to help us save time and leave us more time to do other things. And in the end, they end up taking over our lives and disconnect us from one another, create more distance between one another. So that's where it all kind of came from. And the script itself was just one of those, it doesn't always happen like this, but it was just like a stream of consciousness. Like I had these ideas in my head for a long time, and it just came out, the first draft.
James, what was your reaction when you got the script and you read your character? In a sense, what were like your first kind of immediate thoughts, if you remember, that kind of went through your head?
The first, well, obviously, because I got to the end of the script and I thought, this is no one would dare to write this script for themselves. A movie in which the last 40 pages of it is one person talking to himself naked, quoting Shakespeare backwards and forwards. It did feel like a narcissist's wet dream or something, but funny and really interesting in terms of the questions that it posed. And I suppose we always end up using the word dystopian around all this stuff, but it doesn't feel so far away, and as we just said, some of it feels like now. I remember we were shooting the stuff with the kids wearing the VR masks and not interacting with their parents, and I remember thinking, yeah, I guess maybe that is an extension of where this could all end up. And of course, now every child is on Zoom all day, every day, taking classes.
Yep.
And as I understand it, the ones that have gone back to the classrooms are pretty twitchy about being back in a live environment. Like, it's a real adjustment for them to do that. So, I think this is exactly the kind of thing that independent movie can do that big budget films can't. You can really pose some kind of quite big philosophical questions. Actually, the only person who can really do this in a big budget way right now is Chris Nolan. So,
That's right. I see, because he loves doing the mind-bending sort of like human psychology sort of movies too, in a lot of ways, and visually presenting them.
So I feel like, Guy's the next Chris Nolan, and I needed to get onto that train.
Guy, it makes me ask you, like, Chris Nolan's got the budget to do things whatever he wants to do, what sort of movies like that. How do you work around a budget for an independent film to make it look as, sci-fi and dystopian? It's all kind of like, these are things you require a lot of, graphics
details,
and visual effects in so many ways. How do you work on a budget to present and make it look so good still, and create this kind of world that you envision?
So first of all, I was obviously not alone in the task. So I was very lucky to work with really talented keys. I think, for me, in terms of kind of, I think, and James is a director as well. He could probably share his own perspective on this. But for me, I look at budgets in a bit of a different way. I always think about what it is that I'm trying to achieve. And I'm trying to forget about, what resources I have or don't have, but rather like trying to really imagine the best representation of what could be. And then you kind of start trying to distill it to its essence and ask yourself, what do I really need in order to create the feeling that I'm after? It's not always like, I've been fortunate enough to make one fairly big movie before. And I think the difference in the approach is when you have less limits, sometimes you keep imagining stuff, but when you do have limits, you imagine stuff, and then you ask yourself, do I need all this in terms of just kind of hitting the nail on its head, so to speak? Or is there a way that is a little more clean to sort of like accomplish the same sort of impact to it, So you pick and choose. There's certain scenes that you say to yourself, also, I'm going to approach this scene in a little bit of a bigger way. And in other places where, where a bigger film or a studio film, maybe you take a different approach, but then you try and use that to your advantage and trying to do something maybe daring with a camera approach that on a larger movie you might not be able to do, for instance, whether it be the way you light the scene or the way you frame certain shots or taking certain risks you're taking, I think. So it's kind of an exchange, I think. I think when you do an independent film, the benefit is that you're allowed to take a little bit more risk than if you were making a big studio film. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it makes sense. And James, that kind of leads me into your question. You've obviously worked on a ton of big budget stuff with all sorts of, great people around it. But what is it that attracts you to an independent film? Because, you can sometimes maybe get used to the world of working with big budget scales and having all the amenities. But what draws you in to do an independent film? What do you enjoy about that aspect that like a big budget maybe or commercialized film can't accomplish for you?
I mean, I think in the end, it sounds trite, but honestly, you just want to tell good stories. Yeah. And that doesn't have anything to do with what the budget is. I thought this was a really interesting story. I also was pretty keenly aware of the idea that if we had $20 million to make it, the movie wouldn't get greenlit because it's got too many big philosophical questions in it. And unless you're Chris Nolan, you can't make those movies right now. You have to make something that is got a far bigger mainstream appeal or is much simpler in its sort of thought processes or whatever. So I feel like this story actually really lends itself to being an independent, smaller budgeted movie, because this is where you can take a big swing, and there for sure there are going to be people that really want to see movies like this. Think about, what did they make Primer for? Primer's made for nothing. And that movie has the biggest cult following ever, Yep.
I don't think it's about necessarily the even in terms of like money. Whatever. I think what you said before is the thing itself, which is, the higher you go with your vision, the sometimes the lesser risk you can take on the storytelling, on the performance, on certain things.
You're obliged then to sort of start making certain amounts of money back, and you're in the studio system, and it's just more. No, I love those movies. I go and watch those movies, and I've been very fortunate. I've been in a few of those movies as well. But you know, honestly, when I read a script, I don't read it thinking about the budget. I read it thinking, do I want to find out what happens at the end of the movie? You know, that's the only question. It's the only question. Am I interested in the story? And in this one, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. And for this one, I got to say, as a director, I feel I don't look at the film right now at all. This to me is when I feel great about something that we've done, which is like I have no thought in my head of like, if only I had this or had that. I'm satisfied in terms of the place where we landed here. So yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously ways of attacking a similar world, not a similar story, a similar world, in a much bigger way, in the $200 million version of it. But that's sometimes a different undertaking. So this is definitely not what drove this piece in terms of my interest in making it. Let's just put it that way.
Interesting. You know, the director-actor relationship is vital for any movie, and it's really about working with people you want to work with, and relationships in this industry for people that don't know are just absolutely paramount. What is something I wanted to ask both of you guys? What is something about each other that you kind of learn just being around each other as people that you really appreciate? I'm gonna start out with you, Guy. What is something about James that you learned through working with him that really kind of stuck out to you?
I mean, for me, it's funny, you know, like what I do when on all the films I've ever done, when I want to cast someone, when I feel like I want to work with someone, I try to look at some of their work to see what they've done before, and to, you know, I don't want to sound. You can't really know an actor from watching their performance. I think anybody who says that is not giving enough credit to the actor's profession, you know, like what they're able to do on screen. So what I usually do is I look at their performances, and then I always try and find interviews or things like that, or just to see how they are in real life. You know, preferably if you can find them in the most bizarre interview when they're not really kind of even conscious of how they're behaving. You don't want to see them with Jalen, or you want to see them with like the Indonesian dress or something, you know. And so it gives you an indication of, you know, where more or less the person is in real life, and where is able to take himself to different places. And then I think it's the meeting. For me, I said that before, but there's nothing greater than working with actors. I think this is the pinnacle of what being a filmmaker is or should be. I think that's where the magic happens. I think you can have the greatest script and the greatest visual and the biggest budget and everybody around you. If you don't have a central performances that anchor the experience on an emotional level, the film is never going to work. And I think if you get that central performance, or you get an actor to buy into your vision, and you're able to kind of together put a real character, a real person on screen, sometimes that's way more important than anything else, than the script and the budget and the direction and whatever. So it's always the best experience. And speaking specifically on James, I mean, I knew that James was like this kind of master, you know, craftsman when it comes to as actors go, and his reputation preceded him from a lot of different places that I've heard, and performances that I loved and I've seen him do. And did you mention Cloud Atlas? I don't know, like, and stuff like there's a lot of stuff that obviously the psycho role and all that, all those great performances. But I think on our very first Skype call that we've had, I just felt like there's a kindred spirit here. Like, and this is something that is very tough for me to quantify or explain, but there's a feeling you get sometimes talking to an actor where you feel like you guys share something in common, like a sensibility. And a lot of people talk about an actor trusting you as a director, but it goes the other way around as well. When you feel like you have an actor who's really a collaborator, and this is what James was for me in this entire process, starting from like working together, rehearsing the script, and through the production, and you couldn't ask for a better ally, you know. So I feel like in a lot of ways, I just wanted to I want to keep working. This is what I'm taking for this experience. I want to keep working in that type of relationship with my lead actor in every film that I do for. I guess that's the long answer.
Well said. Well said. James, what stood out to you about Guy, just working with him as a person? What sort of things you kind of came through to you about him?
Well, I mean, I want to sort of, in some ways, echo some of what Guy said, but also, you know, I've had the experience of being Guy subsequently. So I wrote something and directed it, and I know what it's like when you've written something to then have to hand it over to somebody else. It's a scary moment, you know. And from the minute we first started talking, and then we had like this amazing period of time in London. Guy flew to London we just went through the script microscopically. And I understood what his vision was. He started to understand the bits that didn't make sense to me, and then was able to sort of adjust the script because, you know, I am obviously not privy to everything that's going on in his head. That takes it takes a big guy to be able to do that, to sit there and, you know, we had some challenging moments where we really didn't understand each other and we didn't know each other very well, but it definitely worked out very well for the script, and it worked out brilliantly for us together because, you know, they say making a movie is a little bit like going to war, but it's, you know, it's a pretty nice war, to be honest. You know, it's a war that involves people bringing you cups of coffee and nice trailers.
Yeah.
You get turned around.
But there is an element of it where you get in the bubble and it's just that movie. That's all that happens. It's what happens in your dreams. It's what happens first thing when you wake up, and it's what happens last thing before you go to sleep. And I would get to the studio and I would see Guy, and it was great because it's the thing that you hope for as an actor, is that you're going to have a relationship with the director whereby actually you've kind of gone beyond words at this point. You both know that you're rowing the boat in the same direction. And yeah, there's going to be nuance of performance and try this, try that, maybe like this, like that. But basically, you both know in which direction you're trying to head. And that for me was really, you know, and also me personally, I like a director who knows what he wants.
Yep.
I'm not very good at the navel gazing and the kind of, why wouldn't it be interesting if we,
No.
I actually don't like that personally. I like people to go, I may be wrong, but we're going to do this. And actually sometimes, you know, then to go, yep, no, I was wrong. Okay, now we're going to do that. You know, I like definitive decisions on a film set. I enjoy that energy, and, you know, so it was great. Honestly, it was a bit of a dream.
That's fantastic. Well, I have you, James. I got to ask you, I mean, obviously I've been a big fan of everything Marvel, and you've been a big part of it. What's kind of the future for you in the next phase? Is that you're going to be making any returns, anything that you know of that you can share? In regards to...
I have no information. I wish I had some information for you. I mean, I love those guys. I really love those guys. They're weirdly, one of the showrunners from Agent Carter just texted me. I love Marvel. They're a great company and they're really good people. And if there was any world in which I could be involved again, I would leap at the chance. But that's all I have, I'm afraid. I wish I had more.
No, that's okay. I mean, hey, you'd be the first one to know, right? I mean, if something's going on. And finally, kind of wanted to ask you guys, I love asking when I'm talking to filmmakers and actors, I love knowing about you personally, like about your hobbies or interests. So, you know, because I get to see you guys work on screen now, but I'm always curious about the person itself. So I'm going to start out with James. What are some of your interests outside of the acting world and performing? What do you like to do in your like kind of everyday life to just get away from everything? You too, Guy. I'm coming to you after that.
But Guy knows what my major passion in life is playing tennis and watching tennis. But when we were making the movie, it was incredible because we worked some crazy hours, but I managed to play tennis an hour a day.
Whoa.
Almost every day we made the movie. I would go and play before work just to get my energy up. And then by the time I got to the studio, I'd be like, great, I'm ready to go.
Whoa.
So that's my big passion. Is playing
that's
tennis.
Awesome. I had no idea. That's cool. Guy, what about you? I mean, we know James is a tennis pro. He's probably we'll see him next time.
I'll choose also sports because I was just thinking how sad it is to be a filmmaker because you're really so obsessed with this profession. He doesn't really leave time for much else. But when I do have time, I used to be a Thai boxer when I was younger. So
oh, cool.
On occasion, I'll take my frustration on a boxing bag now. Not any real person anymore. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. You see that these are facts I would never know unless I asked. So
not from this film for sure.
Well, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really enjoyed the film. I mean, Guy, you might be Nostradamus or something. I don't know in a past life, but
hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Right.
I'm not ready for my wife to replace me just yet.
Let's hope not. But just terrific work by both of you guys, and I love seeing films like that. Just the creativity and what you're able to do. So continue the good work. And I'll be looking out for both of you in your next projects. And most importantly, guys, stay safe and healthy into this crazy reality we're in right now. And hopefully get to reconnect down the road.
Thanks, man.
Brilliant.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, fellas. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Why does it seem like I'm the only one that feels this way?
We're all connected.
Are you afraid to die?
I don't feel any pain. Actually, I don't feel anything at all.